What is going on, everyone? Thanks for entering the Lobby of Hobbies. My name is Jazz, and if you're with us, you're probably coming over from Quackalope, trying to figure out what is on the rest of this 5-through-1 list of Euro games.
A duck.
Oh, yes. Of course, you are a duck. So, of course, if you're here, let's just throw it on. Let's look at this guy here, Jesse, who is going to be joining us here at the Lobby of Hobbies for the rest of this list. For those that do not know what Quackalope is, I don't know how you don't know what Quackalope is because they have some ridiculous amount of subscribers. So why don't you jump over to that channel really quick and then subscribe? But do that after you follow this list. All right, let's go, Jesse.
We're diving into our top 5-through-1 now.
Yeah.
And the other list had some controversy. I'm going to be honest. You initiated it. This whole idea was you calling me out for not playing enough Euro games, or at least saying that when I claim I play Euro games, you were like, prove it. A little bit more expletives there, but I won't go into the details of what you said. It was mildly offensive, but this is going to be an interesting journey because we've learned so far that you got rid of a very popular game, replaced it with another. We learned there's some titles that neither of us have played. And we started a debate over on the main channel, over on Quackalope, about a title which might not even be a Euro game that was in on your list. So I'm really compelled to see where this goes.
Oh,
my number 5.
Yes.
My number 5 is going to be a little old game called Feast for Odin. This is a incredible mead drinking tile placements, like polyomino puzzle solving Euro game where you're taking a lot of different worker placement actions to collect resources that all resemble little polyomino pieces that you're then trying to slot into your own little tribes kind of board. And at the end of the game, you're doing your very best to be as efficient as possible with not only the scoring mechanics that you have on hand, but also how you lay those tiles into your little settlement and district. This game, here's what I'll say about it. I played this game 4 players with mead. We all brought a few bottles of mead to like actually celebrate, Norse mythology and Viking,
which is a must. Let's be honest.
I mean, look, do you see the amber in my beard here? Like I've got Scotch Irish behind me, and sooner or later I'll wear my hair in a braid. I've got to respect the culture that I come from, right? And so Feast for Odin here is the 1 Euro game, or one of the Euro games, where 2 hours into our gameplay, all 4 of us were standing up at the table, staring down at the board in complete silence, and all of us were completely satisfied with that experience. Mind-blowing how good it feels to just have a system that's up and running, have worker placement zones you're going to, and trying to solve this polyomino pieces at the same time. That dichotomy, it just balances itself so well.
Yes. I have it in the collection. This is one that's unplayed the collection.
That's fair. It's hard to get to the table. It's big.
And it is big, but it is one that every time I look at it, you get scared with all the pieces. But honestly, this is one that I know I will love. That's why it's in my collection. Have you ever get to the point where you just buy a game because you know you'll love it, and it's just like, when am I going to get it to the table? This is one that I actually acquired during the pandemic. So being able to play it, something as heavy as this is, it's just one that I know I'll enjoy. I was talking about Honey Buzz over on the first half of this list about the idea of the worker placement with the tile placement as well. This is one I know I will thoroughly enjoy with my glass of my biggest pint next to me. But yeah, you got to get.
I believe it's Dragon Blood. I think that was the name of the best mead we had that evening. I'm not sure, but I mean, listen. Come on over. Once the world starts opening back up, come spend time with me. I'll provide you with as much meat as you want.
That sounds good. All right. So on to my number 5. Now, my number 5 is one that I have played and was introduced to. It's one of my friends who says it's his number 1 game of all time. I said, then I have to learn it. And he actually sat down and taught this one to me. This one is one that has replaced Lords of Waterdeep for me, although I thoroughly enjoy Lords of Waterdeep. This is Yedo. Yedo is one that is ridiculously amazing. It has that Lords of Waterdeep feel to it where you're trying to complete contracts. There's these different levels of contracts. I forget the colors exactly. It's like a blue, a red, a green, and there's like a black card, different contracts. And the black is, sometimes it's almost insanely impossible to actually complete these cards. But it's something about collecting the right weapons to complete these cards, the right amount of money that you need to complete them. But this bidding mechanic at the very beginning of the game where you're bidding on who is going to take which action spot and who's going to pay for that. So you start off with the bid, whoever's that has that first place spot to bid, and you bid on what you want, and asks does anybody else want to bid higher. And man, it's just something about that bidding mechanic at the very beginning for the spots that you want to be able to do the actions that you need to complete these contracts. But man, this is one game that when you talk about Euros not having a lot of player interaction, not being being mean, this is one that can be mean. But with the new deluxeified edition, I like the fact that you can tone down the meanness to this, so you can actually make it more of a real Euro game where you don't want any other player interaction. Hey, I don't want any of the player interaction, just that bidding mechanic. So this is one that the new deluxe edition is beautiful. What Board and Dice did with this, it's stunning. They went top notch with this. This is one that after playing the original, when they dropped the Kickstarter for the deluxe, I was day one backer on this. So yeah, you've got to try Yeto. Is this one you've played?
I have no idea what this game is.
Oh, it's beautiful. Listen,
no, I haven't played it.
it's if you've played Lords of Waterdeep, you're going to get a Lords of Waterdeep vibe.
Well, that's the thing.
This.
I'm familiar with Lords of Waterdeep. It's one of Sean's favorite games. He brought it in for his top 10 family game list that we did. And so, I'm compelled. And this might be a good recommendation for me to give to him as well, because it might be one that enters his family home. He plays a lot of times with his wife and like 17 children, and so it could be a good opportunity for him.
Yeah, it's just something that it fits that feudal Japan type theme, which is beautiful. And it's something about like there's this night watchman that's going around the different boards, so he's closing off certain spaces, and if you're left in that certain space, he will steal you, or pretty much you kind of like lose. I forget exactly the mechanic on that. It's been a while since I have played it, but yeah, you gotta avoid him and make sure that you're in a spot. It's just one that you've got to check out.
Very cool.
So my number 4, I had to have a deck builder on this one. This is my top deck builder. It's not Dominion. This is one that's blows every other deck builder.
I love a good deck builder, so I'm really interested in this right now.
This one is Clank, a deck building adventure. Clank is for me, and this I'm talking about straight Clank. I have everything for Clank.
Is Clank a Euro game?
Yes, Clank. Listen, are we going back and forth here, Jesse, about what really is a Euro game?
I hear you, but like Clank is lovely, but is it a Euro game?
Yes, it's a Euro game.
I want to debate down below in your comment section now, determining whether or not Clank is a Euro game.
Am I guess I'm starting a bunch of debates with this list, right? Clank. Okay, so what is considered a Euro game then, right? It's the idea that it comes down to, I guess, because it's about points here. You have victory points in there, right?
Victory points, lower player interaction. You're going to have some sort of like resource management. Typically in a Euro, you're going to have a themed game instead of it's going to be different from an abstract in the sense that it has a theme, so that it makes it slightly more accessible.
And you just spoke about Clank then, right? It has a theme that can be technically pasted on. You are diving down into this dungeon. It doesn't really have as heavy player interaction because I can completely do everything that I want to do. We're working together. We have to manage this monster, I guess, that's attacking us or going to be, fighting off, going to be hitting us. We have to, manage what cards we're going to buy when those monsters come in that trade row or that buy row. You're trying to buy the certain monsters that you're needing to purchase.
So you'd consider the deck building mechanic to be the resource management element of this that bridges that Euro game nature.
Not only that, but the fact that you're going to be collecting your different there's different tokens that you're going to be collecting that you're going to be at some point finding at which point you're going to be spending those tokens to be able to maximize your next move. So you're going to have some tokens that are going to allow you to maybe move through those spots that slow you down.
I'm so interested to see what the comment section says, because I might be more convinced on Blood Rage than I am on Clank, but I could see the argument. That being said, I do want to know from the audience as well, Clank in Space or Clank Legacy, because all of them have their own charm. Why are you going core? Why are you going core game? Why are you not doing the upgrades?
Like I told you before, when it comes down, not that I don't have upgrades, I have everything.
No, I know, but Clank. Why are you including just base here?
I'm very much a fan of the theme of the with standard Clank
Yeah,
as
I
opposed to
agree.
the space theme. I do like space, don't
agree.
get me wrong. I love my space, but the idea that it's also more accessible. We talked about making games that are more accessible.
Okay.
Here at the Lobby of Hobbies, we like to get people that, that can be completely new to the hobby to get introduced to something that's fairly accessible. And this is one that I think I can teach someone who is completely new to the hobby. And then I just haven't played Legacy yet, but I know it's one that I will enjoy. I love a good Legacy game. I'm one who's very particular when it comes to adding a Legacy game to my collection because like there's so much invested in having to have a Legacy game.
If this is here on your list, Clank Legacy is one that no doubt you should add when you have a group to play it with. When you have
exactly,
a group to play it with.
That's the thing. It's about having the group to play it with, and I know I will, but I've got to get them introduced to the base Clank first. And right now I have 4, and I think that plays up to 6. The Legacy version, doesn't it?
Yes. I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would like to play with a full player count, but yeah.
All right. Are we on number 4? We're on number 4, right?
Yes, we are number 4.
Okay. My number 4 is going to be a little known game called Viticulture. This is going to be a game coming from Stonemaier Games. This is all going to be about harvesting and upgrading your own little wine hillside. You inherited this from your ma and pa, and you're going to be slowly working your way through the seasons and the ages in order to place your workers out on the field, gather the resources you need, draw up a lot of cards that you need into your hands so that you can have visitors and tourists and different types of vineyards and grapes to be harvested. And then in the late season, the winter season is when you'll bring them all in, you'll put them into barrels, and you'll start producing wine. The end scoring of this game is going to be pushing up a victory track, and the first one to get to the finish line is going to be the winner, as long as no one else passes them in points. Now, I have read, but have not played Tuscany. I think Tuscany is going to do a lot of things that is going to be very interesting with the regional control, the 4 seasons instead of the 2, and the hierarchy of the turn orders and the turn structures. But again, I can't put Tuscany on the list because I haven't played it. And to be honest, I'm not entirely convinced that I like everything happening from what I've seen so far compared to base Viticulture, with maybe 1 or 2 of the modular expansions included into that base game. Have you played Viticulture before? It's a very well-known Euro.
Oh yes, I have. And Jesse,
I
am not going to speak on this one just yet.
Oh, just yet.
Because you kind of gave me like a knife in the back with that number 4 point right there.
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on quickly just so we don't have to dwell on it too long then. My number 3 is going to be a game called Russian Railroads, which is going to be coming back into the marketplace finally after a long time not being available or accessible, with a large railroads like core box, which I believe is going to include, I believe it's railroads, it's some universal railroads terminology now, which is going to be the mechanic system, but it's going to have all the different modules, Russian, German, USA, everything included in one big box. Now, Russian Railroads is going to be, it's not a pick up and deliver game, even though it's a train game. It's not even really an economic game, even though you do gather resources to some degree and you do spend money to some degree to like hire and take some of your actions. But really, it's going to be a worker placement game where you're trying to push up and produce various different train track or railway lines. The most compelling part about this game is the interplay between the different tracks that you can push up and the way that you start needing to produce different types of rail in order to move your train down as far as possible to gain not only resources and benefits during mid-game, but end-game scoring. What do I mean by that? You're going to have 4 different types of cubes. I believe it's 4 on each of your tracks. There's going to be a brown cube, a black cube, a gray cube, and something else. And each of those cannot pass each other. And all of them need to move up in order for your train to extend down the line, to have a pathway back and forth to bring you resources and victory points back home. So you're working on the economic system, trying to figure out how everything sequences and bounces off of each other, sort of like a Ganjan Clever style of chaining events, or whatever the term is when it comes to like escalating success instead of escalating failure. I would
like
assume.
having a catalyst, I guess.
I don't know. Look, there's a lot of words that I'm not familiar with. Again, I'm from Kentucky. I already established this early on. This game, have you played this game? This is one of the few games that I bought the second I finished playing it.
No, it's not, and it's because it's ridiculously
You can't
hard
get
to
it. No one
come
can get
by.
it. Yeah, no, I
You
hear
can't
you.
get it, and
Yeah.
like you said, with the fact that it's getting a reprint, yes, please and thank you, so I can actually play this game. But I do have a friend who does have this game,
Yeah,
and
I mean, we just established that I own it. Thank you for
yeah,
acknowledging that.
not only that, but I mean, I'm talking about a local one where I don't have to drive, 2.5, 3 hours to get, to play this game.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that I don't want to drive that far, but um, but yeah, this is one that is I definitely want to get to the table. When you have that economic aspect to that, I just like I said, I recently got into these heavier economic type games that some of them might not have made my list, but they are ones that are climbing up the more and more that I play
Love it.
them.
I love it. Number
My
three
number
for you.
three. All right, so let's get to my number three, which is one that I can, I love. Not many people. Some people say they're really off on bag builders. I come from a background of playing competitive Dice Masters, so when it comes to managing what goes into my bag, what's coming out of my bag, I love that nature of it. And this one is Orleans.
Oh, this one didn't make my list. I had it right there. Okay.
Orleans is beautiful. I haven't played Altiplano, and I know there's a big fiery debate on which one is better. I don't think I really need to play Altiplano because I love Orleans that much. Some people say they really don't have a way to. They feel like they can't really manage or manipulate that bag, and I feel like I do. The idea of starting with what workers you are trying to acquire, and using whether it's the monk, who I think has the wild capability, but to be able to place these on this board and with your while you're fighting for which spot you want and how you're building. It's really about the end game board where you're trying to get your score your points at. Man, this one, the being able to manage your resources that you're getting, going through that little map, that trail, and what you're trying to pick up, and fighting for getting to that resource or that cheese or that wine that you need to be able to I mean, I just can't. I think this game is one of those that when I played it the very first time, I bought it simply off of a recommendation. When someone said this was my number one, my buddy Isaac over at Gaming Sidekick says this is my number one game of all time. I said, well, if it's your number one game of all time, I have to play it. And we didn't get a chance to play it at PAX Unplugged, and I got back from PAX Unplugged, and I was like, this is the first game that I ordered because he talked so highly of it.
Listen, it's not on my list. It's not on my list, and I feel bad about it. I'm glad that we're covering it. It was there. It's another one that got kicked off. I got to be honest about this. 10 is not enough. Orleans is a beautiful game. The bag building and Euro structure of it is so nice, because what you're doing is you're adding in workers, but you could be proficient and efficient with that. It gives you enough agency over sending them out of your bag and removing them from the gameplay that if you don't want the randomness of the bag draw, you can control for it more often than not.
Correct.
I think if anyone's played like Quacks of Quedlinburg and they love the mechanic system in that game, if anyone has played any of those more classical like worker placement games, love a European theme, or love sort of like a papal aesthetic to their game, Orleans is a no-brainer here. It is so good and deserves to be where it is.
Yes, this is one that I played it. I loved it so much. I went out that same night I went online. I got the geek bits for it. I just the idea of hearing those.
And they step up the quality of any of your bag building games. I don't know why they still make bag building games with cardboard shits. I'm going to be honest about this. It's a thing. Maybe we should make a video. Maybe I should make a video over on Quackalope talking about how it is offensive to make any more bag building games without the upgraded components already included.
Yes, I would agree.
It is just, I hate digging into the bag, into the corners to find that one cardboard piece that never showed up, the monk that was hiding in the corner.
Or as much as you're grabbing in it with your I have a problem with like sweaty hands, and then you got these like just pieces that they start fraying. Yeah, publishers, please do us all a favor. We will pay a little bit extra to have some upgraded components when it comes to any bag builder. Yeah. Get rid of this cardboard stuff.
Number 2, my good sir.
So, my number 2 is one beautiful game. I gotta say, I thoroughly enjoyed this game. It has talk about table presence, talk about little critters, going through the forest, and
is this Everdell?
Towns.
Is this Everdell?
Is Everdell.
Oh, I called it.
Man,
I'm not sure if this is a Euro either. I thought it might be.
It is a Euro.
Okay.
It's there's not a lot of heavy player interaction. obviously I haven't got a chance to play with the newer cards, or
Oh,
although I have
I
seen
mean,
the cards.
listen,
I have seen the cards on your channel.
I've got the newer cards. I could probably mail them to you.
Like, hey, let's talk. But yeah, this is one that just, it's beautiful on the table, other than having to move that tree anytime you're playing more than 2 players. But man, just being able to manage those resources, fighting for those spots to get the resources that you need. I love the variability of what spots that you have each game that are out in the forest area. And I'm just talking about base Everdale here. I'm not even getting into any of the expansions. While Pearlbrook was a kind of a little bit of a wash.
I always play. Man, I always play Pearlbrook. What are you talking about?
Not that it was just underwhelming for the first expansion.
It got mixed in standard with mine. It just always exists there.
But it is one that you can play that's there. But I honestly just wanted more. But
I'll tell you, the best way I've ever played Everdell was everything available included.
And I have not done that yet. So I guess I'm waiting for everything to really come.
I hear you.
But yeah, it's one that I love. And man, that tableau building mechanism and trying to make sure that you're fighting for that one card that you need. And when it comes out, it's beautiful table, but the mechanics, how well everything works together. Honestly, I don't know why some people hate on this game, because it is that good. I'm my buddy Dwayne over at Blackboard Gaming. This is one of his favorite games, I think, of all time.
I know Dwayne. I know. Yeah, say hi to Dwayne. He's going to get on the podcast sometime soon. We've been talking behind the scenes.
Dwayne loves this game, and
I didn't realize it was one of his favorites.
Yeah, it's one of his favorite, and we talk about it all the time. He loves this game, and I cannot wait for the new stuff to deliver. This is one of those games that, day one back, so you just come it and get it.
I'm hearing Jazz, Jan, Jesse, and Dwayne all need to get together and play some Everdell. That's what I'm hearing.
Most definitely. I don't think you'll have an argument from either of us.
Cool. Sounds good. It's a date. We're going to make it happen. I'll bring the bourbon once again from Kentucky. My number 2 is going to be a game that I did not realize I would fall so in love with so quickly. Jazz, have you ever just wanted to be a cattle rancher? Bring all of the cows you could find and collect down to Kansas,
yes.
Develop, go on a journey, tell a story, yippee-yi-yo, all that mess. I'm bringing in the Great Western Trail. This is an incredible Euro experience where, for me, the core conceit, or the core element that I love about this game is going to be the way that you are going to be balancing and developing the road that you're journeying on as you're going in, not a rondel necessarily, but a circular pattern on the board, always starting at the very beginning, journeying through trails and passageways and over rivers and around large rock structures with hazards, and stopping at different villas or outposts that you've developed along the way with every journey that you and other players have consecutively made, until you finally get to Kansas, where you get all the steers into the into the lodging around the fences. I don't know what you're doing with steers. What do people do with steers when they arrive to Kansas? What do they?
I don't know. We don't have a lot of horses and stuff out here, Jesse.
Listen, I assume they lived a happy life until they died of old age. That's my assumption, and I'm sticking with it. Either way, you're then going to journey back to the very beginning, and you're going to go on your journey one more time, once more around the bend, and again and again and again. And the way that players interact to develop that map makes this one of the best Euros on my list. Now, again, expansion, I haven't dug into it yet. I've loved my experience with it base game. I'm really excited to dig into the expansion because I've heard that it adds a lot, but I'm saving that till I need another kick in the pants, right? Like, I think that if I hear an expansion adds a lot to the experience of a game, I sort of don't mind holding on to it until like my 10th play, when I'm thinking to myself, I've done this before, because then it rejuvenates and it brings it back.
I can agree when it comes to that with expansions. And GWT is one that I have still yet to play. And this is one, honestly, that I was trying to get played before this list, because I know that I will fall in love with this one.
I feel like an expert right now. I'm doing like way better than I anticipated I would do. I feel like I have some Euro cred at this point.
You do. I'm being honest, you do. And I
was trying to play Brass Lancashire before or Brass Birmingham before I came to this, because I think it might compete in there, but I haven't had a chance to play it yet.
Yeah, there are some games that I know will honestly, if I was to redo this list, they will crack in there. There are some games that are on the cusp, but honestly, for me, I had every game on this list I had to at least play more than once. But I will tell you, this is for me, this is just for me, but I can tell you that there are a bunch of games that are on the outskirts of my list that I have played once, have completely fallen in love with the
I
game.
hear you. I hear you.
And I just couldn't, like, for example, like I've never really played a Lacerda, and the first one that I played was On Mars, and I absolutely fell in love with On Mars. And this is one that I think I would say if I was to play this a second, I would just jump it right into it would easily make my top 10 because
Yeah,
that's how
I haven't played a lot of Lacerda games either. It's one of the areas where I'm probably weakest in this. On Mars is on our list. We own a copy. We've done a beautiful unboxing, and then the world decided to stop for a bit.
Yes.
So we'll get it back to the table. We'll get Jan and I are together now. We'll play it soon. Either way, so we're moving into our number 1 slot, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, good numero uno,
Okay.
especially with Quackalope. We got to get some Spanish in there.
My number 1, I know only the important things. So my ex-girlfriend was Bolivian. And so I know just enough to like communicate, fight with her sister a little bit and communicate with her. Like the very first thing I ever learned from her was like, lo siento, no eres mi intención lastimarte, which means I'm sorry, I didn't intend to hurt you. And then the second thing I learned was tu eres muy bonita. And then the third thing I learned was porque mi ardilla es muerte, mi corazón es muy mal, which is how you mourn the death of a squirrel. So I know some things, just not a lot. Jan's gonna help me get my feet in there. Either way,
awesome.
My number 1 Euro game of all time is going to be my number 1 game of all time. It always ends up at the top of my list, Jazz. This is going to be Kingdom Death Monster, the best Euro game by far that I've ever played. Wait, what are you laughing?
Then there is definitely no excuse for any game that's on my list if Kingdom Death is at the top, right?
What are you talking about? No, yeah, listen, Kingdom Death has some elements of it that maybe not translate into a Euro game system, but think about some of the other elements that it has. The settlement building, the resource management. As you go out and you harvest and you collect, you bring these resources back to manage your production chains. You figure out little economic puzzles on your player board so that you can maximize the abilities and hits that you're taking as you move out. You can control the randomness to a degree. I mean, there's a good 80% of the game that is certainly not a Euro, but there's like 10% that could be argued as a Euro, and it's always at the top of my list.
That sounds really, really good.
Yeah.
I just don't know if it's that good to be able to put it there.
All right. We'll give it an honorable mention then. My number 1 Euro of all time is also going to be the Euro that I have played by far the most of all time. And I'm not sure if this is debate or not. I think under your rules, this certainly qualifies, but I did wiggle it in here. It's going to be SCYTHE by Stonemaier Games. I've played through the full Rise of Fenris campaign. I have played for a while there, like 6 months. I was playing every single week or every other week with a group of friends. This is just a beautiful dystopian sort of Soviet Russian environment where you're walking around with big steampunk engines and managing resources and developing economic chains and doing worker placement or worker action selection down on your main player board. Always trying to figure out what is economically the best path to take to gather resources and accomplish a variety of different main objectives. Now, it does end scoring with a variety of victory points, but each of those victory points come from so many different varied locations and sources that there's a viable path or a viable strategy to end game, whether or not you're trying to become the most popular ruler, whether or not you're trying to cover the landscape and gain territory, whether or not you're just trying to become a resource hound or make it to the factory first, or even, and here's where it bridges on not being quite as Euro, even the potentiality to make it into a full war game experience where you're flipping cards, using your track to mediate different attacks and terrorizing the neighborhood.
I can't argue with you here. This is definitely a Euro, and this is one that when I first played it, I went into it thinking this is like complete war game. Let's just go in, and I was underwhelmed in my first play.
Because you would be, because it's not a war game.
And I went, I was like, oh, like 2 hours later, it's like I just wasted my time. Like I understand it's elegant. I understand what's going on, but I think I just couldn't appreciate
the mechanics that the game has. But if you can see it, it's right over my shoulder right there.
I can see it.
And I have recently played it I've played it twice, and this is one that is, if I was to look at my list, I have it currently at number 12, because the more that I play it, it's going up, and it is a beautiful, beautiful design. There's something about the action selection system and how you're upgrading the actions on your board and being able to go out there and manage those resources, getting into those battles when you need to get into those battles. But the idea, man, the thematic elements behind this game, if you were to talk about, Euros that, have great theme that is just implemented into it, this would be, this is easily is on my top 10, maybe even top 5. When it comes to that list. But yeah, it's just hands down. I don't, if you argued, I guess you could, if people are arguing that Blood Rage, I think there's a greater argument for Blood Rage not being Euro than it is for Scythe being.
I think you're right, which is why Blood Rage didn't make my list and Scythe did.
But I can tell you that if you were to listen to my argument before, Blood Rage probably would have made your list.
Let's
be real.
That's fair. Listen. All right.
So to my number one. You should already know this. So on to my number one, which is also my number one game ever of all time.
Whoa.
And it is Viticulture with the Tuscany expansion. Viticulture, the Essential Edition with that Tuscany expansion. This is one that I was like, man, this was easily blew up to the top of my worker placement list, easily blew up to the top of my Euro list. It's just something about the theme of just, my wife and I just enjoy getting a time to just go to a local winery, or even when we're on vacation, just enjoy our time at the winery, just enjoy. But man, the idea of feeling like you are running your own vineyard, going to your worker spots, but having that grande worker to be able to just, hey, I'm going to take this spot over, although you've taken it, I can go in there, still do that action that I need to. So that grande worker becomes very, very crucial in how you use it, when you use it.
And Tuscany introduces new asymmetric workers to a degree as well, right?
Correct. And what's good about Tuscany is, some people love the structures. I think sometimes the structure cards can be implemented when you need to. If you want something that's going to be a little bit more easier to kind of teach newer players that are transitioning from the base game. But this is one game that I love so much that when I teach it, I don't even worry about teaching it with the base game. I just go right into Tuscany, but having all 4 seasons to work through in Tuscany is just something that is beautiful.
So I'm compelled by it, but I do find it weird because I read the rule book and I haven't played it. I love the base game. What is it about splitting it from 2 seasons into 4, with each of your decks contained in one of those and different types of worker placement zones contained in each of those? What makes that a positive change here?
I think for me, it's being able to individually manage each of those seasons. It just makes the how you think your turns through from season to season. You really have to just, it just adds just not much complexity, just a little bit more thought process on what you're going to do from one season. Because again, you're limited in workers, early on in the game. You got to figure out at what point am I going to utilize all my workers in the first couple seasons and not have anything in the last, or am I going to spread them out? But man, it's a beautiful design. There's just something about that wake up track. Even if you're playing that base game, that wake up track on, if I want to go first, I'm going to get a less of a reward, but I get the opportunity to get that, assure myself of that spot that I want in that first season. Or, do I need to draw some more cards? Do I need that extra worker this round? I'll go last, but I'll just get that extra worker. It is beautiful. It's one of those games that it's people say, oh, this is it might scare like newer players, but when it comes, I think I can teach base viticulture to a newer player who is completely new to worker placement and who will completely love and especially who loves the theme. I think they would enjoy this game. I love it, and it's one that I when the app came out, I bought the app, and it was like, yeah, I play viticulture all the time.
So let me ask: Did you enjoy Jan and my drunk gameplay? Have you had time to?
I honestly
check that out?
Didn't see it, but now that you tell me there's a drunk gameplay, I gotta check it out.
Our first gameplay of viticulture on the channel is both of us sipping on wine and having a good old time. So, This is interesting. This is also the only game that we, I believe, had crossover on our lists.
Yes, which is good because we introduce people to a lot of new games, which honestly I like the idea. I like lists that don't have much crossover because sometimes it piques my interest on some things I need to check out. Some things that,
there's definitely a few on your list that I need to go get my teeth into again.
And same as yours. And like I said, there are some on my list that I would have loved to have. Some honorable mentions. I know some people are probably like kicking me in the butt, like, how is this not on the list? This Blood Rage should be out of there. This one should be on that list. But honestly, listen, tell me what it is. Hey, I'm okay with taking a beating every once in a while. I grew up with a Puerto Rican mother who is very strong, who kept me on the straight and narrow path, and I love her for that. But man, so I take my lickings and I keep on ticking, you know what I'm saying? But down in the comments, let me know what it is that would be on your list. So I'll be honest, I guaranteed everybody that if I was going to tell them if Blood Rage was not allowed to be on this list, what would have been on this list for me? And that would have been Grand Austria Hotel. Of course, this is a game that plays best at 2 players, just because of that like snake drafting element in there where the first player does their action, the second player does their action, and then the second player would do their action again before the fourth player gets there, because everybody gets 2 actions. So when you're playing with more than 2 players, if you're playing in a full 4-player game, that first player really doesn't get a chance to go after like 8th, so that drags out the game. But man, the abilities of managing what you're going to do with those workers, where you're going to go, and you only have 2 actions. It's one that plays very, very quick, that you can get right to the table right again, because I just love it. It's something about that one. And it's one that I've honestly only played twice. And both of those plays were just this past week, and it's that good. I haven't
had the pleasure yet, but for any of you that are over here on the Lobby of Hobbies channel that might have came here through Quackalope because you wanted to see where I was going to mess up on this, and no, it wasn't Kingdom Death. I need you to do 2 things. If you watched this point, I swear if you don't do these 2 things, I'm going to be disappointed. Quack down in the comments down below. Take a second to quack. And while you're down there, on the way to leave a quack, hit the subscribe button. I'd love to see, Jazz, like Hail Mary here, not saying that it'll happen, but I'd love to see you double numbers or cross 1,000, or I want to see you hit some of those milestones that allow you to do some important things with your channels, from monetization to being able to market and start getting pushed by YouTube itself. There's some of these lines here. And so, if you're here, if you're a fan of us now, do that, because it really does make a world of difference. All that being said, Jazz, this is on your channel, so I'm going to let you say goodbye to the people.
All right, Jesse, first, I want to thank you for accepting the invite. Actually, that's not really an invite. We kind of collabed on this together, right? We talked about some stuff.
It wasn't an invite. You just publicly called me out on the idea of me playing Euros, and I said, oh, I'll take you up on one of those. We've been talking for a while. I'm really excited that we've been able to do something together here.
Yes, and this is awesome. And first, for those that are here that are coming from Quackalope, this is your first time. First of all, I want to thank you for entering here at the Lobby of Hobbies, because what we do here is we share the games we enjoy in hopes that you discover something we're checking out. Obviously, maybe my list was just underwhelming for some people. Yes, I am a Euro guy. I love Euros. But honestly, let me know down in the comments what it is that you want to see me play that I probably haven't listed. And I like to talk with the community. So if you comment down below, yes, I will be commenting with you. I don't know if you're having a couple thousand quacks down below. I'll probably give you a quack back really quick.
Challenge accepted. Listen, at this point, you've committed to something you might not be able to take back.
Yes. But listen, definitely, I like to engage with my community, whatever the case may be. Comment down below. I would love to talk to you. But yeah, what we also do here is we have a segment also called Lobby Talks, where pretty much I just get behind the camera and I just like to talk to you about just various topics related to board games and just life in general. That's what it's about here. It's just about connecting community, and that's what I want to do. That's what I want to bring to you and the listeners here. But again, bring more people into this hobby, make it more diverse, but pretty much invite everyone to your table. So that's what I challenge everyone to do here. I challenge myself to do that. And you will see a segment that I also call here called The Challenge, where that's what I do is I challenge people who are completely new to the hobby to learn a game with me. Right now, it's of course digitally, but hey, we want to build community, want to get more people into this hobby because it is a great hobby. And if you have a hobby that you want me to check out, I'm always up for the challenge. So again, Jesse, thanks for joining me here on the Lobby of Hobbies. Thank you guys for stopping by and checking us out, and we will catch you on the flip side.